Hey guys, welcome back to another episode in this pick that involved quite a few items from a machine shop, and this is going to be the final episode in this particular series. And we've only got four items to feature, but some of them are pretty interesting. So let's start with the more basic one. This is a height stand that I picked up there, and it's got a kind of nice looking Brown Sharpe indicator on it, drop indicator on it, but it is clearly tagged with another one of these out of service stickers. And so I'm going to have to check this out and see if I can figure out why they took this out of service, because the indicator seems to work perfectly fine. The stand itself is badged EconoCheck, and says it looks like it's made by the Griggs Company of Tulsa, Oklahoma. So looks like it's got some age to it. Kind of a beefy stand, and like I said, really not a bad looking indicator there. Kind of a neat one. But I have so many of these stands, I didn't really care too much about it, but it was included in the deal, so no reason to leave it there. So this box right here contains a bunch of stuff that goes with the next item. Let me get the next item up here on the bench. Something I've never seen before. This is made by Federal, the indicator company. They have a metrology division. So this is the Federal Dimensioair. So quite an interesting device. Get a load of the size of this dial on this thing. 6 inches in diameter. On the back here we actually have a hookup for an air line with a regulator and a air pressure valve. On the front here we have a port. It appears we've got some hoses here that we can hook up to this. Came with two of them. Get a load of these numbers right here. Top one's a ratio 4,000 to 1. Look at the bottom one. It's 0.000025. Now I think that is 25 millionths of an inch. So the resolution here is just off the charts. So this particular model is the D4000, and what this thing does is this thing actually uses air to measure very precisely bore diameters. So let me just try and touch upon exactly how an air gauge works and what it's good for. So an air gauge uses devices called air tools, which this is one, but I don't believe it's the correct one for this, or it's missing some sort of an adapter, because this was on here, which these hoses that came with it will attach to. So this is an adapter to put hoses on, but then you're supposed to be able to screw the air tool directly on here, and then this becomes almost like a stand for the tester, the test tool. So but this is an air tool, and the way it's designed is that compressed air is blown in through here, and it exits out of small orifices on here, which there's these little balls in here that when the part to be tested is pushed over it, I guess they must be pushed in just enough to let the air flow out. Not quite sure. The escaping air then follows along these grooves back out of the part. The principle behind this is if you imagine if I was holding this hose, and say this was a wall right here, and I had air blowing out of this. As I start to move forward closer to the wall, at some point the resistance of the air hitting the wall and coming back is going to affect very, very small pressure changes or pressure drops. And that's what this gauge is measuring. So what in effect you're able to do is you're able to make a non-contact measurement of, for instance, this is for a bore. So this is to measure an ID. So if we had the correct adapter to put this on here, for instance, we would mount this on here. This is a 0.875 3, I think, or 5, I forget. Anyways, we then use a master check ring, which there are 2 with this. It's interesting. There are only 2 air tools in here. They're both 0.875 with very tiny variation. There are only 2 check rings in here, or masters, that are both Edmunds 0.875 min and a 0.8757 max. So right on both sides of 0.875, which is 7/8, right? So whoever was using this apparently was only measuring, they were only concerned with 7/8 of an inch bores. So that's the other thing about this. This does not have a wide range of things you can measure with it, because you essentially have to have an air tool for each bore size that you want to measure within a very small amount. There is a little bit of plus and minus there, but it's very small. So this is very accurate, but not very versatile unless you have a whole lot of these in different sizes. There are other things you can measure with this. You can measure tapers. You can measure flatness with different type fittings. You can measure. There's an air, almost like a snap gauge, that can be used, that you would use with a hose like this, so that you could check a part, say, while it's still on the machine, maybe. But anyways, they still use these. Like I said, they're very simple to use once they're set and you calibrate it with the check. It's very easy to check multiple parts. And again, if you have parts that are made out of soft metal that you do not want to mar by using other types of gauges, this is exactly the kind of thing you want to use. It also came with this. This is also marked Edmunds. It's also marked 0.8750, but I have no idea how you use this gauge. This almost appears like this might be like a handle. This does have a port that I could screw this into, and then with this adapter I could screw this. So this I could actually hook up, but I have no idea how to use it. I went online trying to find this gauge, this air tool, and I couldn't find it. I don't know. At first I thought maybe because the way it's made, this was for checking flatness, up against something, but that actually says 0.875, so this is 7/8, and this internal part right here might be 7/8 of an inch. So I don't. It's certainly something different, that's for sure. This adapter was in there. It doesn't appear to be anything special, so I'm not even sure if that belonged in there. There was an extra hose in there. This is a model D4000, so I was able to find out they made quite a few models. The most common one that tends to be found in use is the D2500. This, being a D4000, is actually even more accurate, to a tighter tolerance, I think, to a small, down to a smaller division. They make these even more accurate than that. They make them crazy accurate. So then there's a bunch of these, which I have no idea what the heck these are. They have knurled ends on them like a handle, right? They have steps in them. They happen to be very close to the 0.875. In fact, so that the 0.8757 goes on the first one, Goes on the second one. It will not go on the third one. 0.8753 doesn't want to go on that at all. It goes on this one with room to spare, so that's clearly smaller. Some of these are still wrapped in this oil paper to protect them, but anyways, don't know what I'm gonna do with this thing. This next item I thought was pretty cool. Apologize for the noise in the background. Aiden wanted to do some arc welding today on his summer break, kind of keep sharp. So the big giant air co is running behind us. This I spotted actually tucked on a shelf down underneath in their inspection department, and what it is it's an old bench center. It's an early one. It's got this neat Art Deco kind of look to it. So this is really an Art Deco kind of design, which kind of screams 1940s or 50s. So initially I had no idea who made it because I had seen the other side of it, and there was a place for this plaque with the two holes on the other side. So I thought the plaque had been removed. Then after I got it back here to the shop, I realized, oh no, the plaque on this side is present. It's just been painted over. So this isn't the original paint job, clearly. And I can just see through the paint, the ghost image, and make out that it says Delta Milwaukee. So this is a Delta Milwaukee bench center. I found a couple of these online. The interesting thing about this one, which makes it really cool, is that all of the ones that I found online were just the base with the two end supports here. They were all missing this piece, which clearly is original because all the handles match. There are handles on the back side here that are identical to these handles. So this is the original indicator stand. So for those of you who've never seen a bench center before and have no idea what this is for measuring straightness or roundness of shafts. So you take a shaft, like this happens to be one of these weird gauge things that we found, right? And you stick it between the centers, like so. Lock this down, okay? And now you can rotate it between centers, and the idea would be we would position this, and we would bring our drop indicator down right on top of here. And then we would rotate this, and it would tell us how straight this was. And that's all this is designed for, really. It's a really nice cast iron base. It weighs quite a bit. It's got a patent date on it, which is kind of neat. It's got a quick cam release on this side. So if you were doing multiples of the same part, you know, I could check this one. Okay, it's good. And then drop the next one right in and check it. So pretty cool. Value on these, you know, I've seen some Taft Pierce ones go for pretty big money. This Delta Milwaukee branded one, not really sure. There's a guy on eBay right now, he's got one. He's asking $400 for his, and he doesn't even have, he's missing this whole part right here, this whole indicator stand. That being said, he can ask $400 till the cows come home. It's until somebody actually buys one, puts the rubber to the road, that's going to prove the real, you know, value. So it's unfortunate, but I just think it was really cool. Worst case scenario, I'm going to just keep it for myself. I have so little room here. I really hate to have this just kind of sit around for the few times that I'm going to need to actually, you know, check some shaft for straightness. You know, I say that, and then as soon as I sell it, I'll probably end up wishing I had one. But I don't know, we'll see. I'll offer it to some of the local guys I know, because I don't want to ship it because it's so heavy. And if I can't get a decent, you know, decent offer out of them for it, then I'll probably just end up keeping it. But that's that. So I said there were 4 items left. We covered the little stand here behind it, and of course the air gauge, and this. And then I got one more item that, again, I think is too cool for school. And this is the last interesting item that I was able to score at this pick. This is another piece of equipment that they had retired from their inspection department. According to one of the foremen there, he said that it hadn't been that long ago that they had the carbide faces on this lapped before they took it out of service. So this is a highly precision piece. This is a Brown Sharpe bench micrometer. So this is for inspection work. So we've got a what looks like your normal drop indicator mounted in the end here, but in fact, if we look at it up close, what's interesting about this particular indicator is the amount of resolution that it has. So that's 4 zeros before the 5. It's not your typical indicator. You barely have to give it much push on this anvil to make that needle just go all over the place. I can imagine what something like this must have cost back in the day. Value today, not quite sure. There's 2 of these for sale on eBay right now. One of them's identical to this with the same comparator on it, and they're asking $644. They just dropped the price from like $800 on it. The other one, they're asking over $2,700 for it, but it's the same bench mic, but instead of having this comparator here, there's a electronic probe hooked up to a big Tesla meter with the analog gauge, which is still, kind of old, but not prehistoric. So I'm sure they're valuing a lot of that money in that Tesla gauge. That being said, look at past sales. I can only find smaller ones that have sold, for around 100, 150. Much smaller than this. So I don't really know. I just thought it was really neat, and they weren't using it anymore, so I decided to be the sap that would take it off their hands. I'm not quite sure what the purpose of this is. I guess this would be okay. So I guess this would be to support the part that you're measuring. Oh yeah, so that makes sense now. That's kind of neat that it has that. Anyways, all right, so that's going to bring this series to a close. I hope you guys enjoyed checking out these interesting, or at least I hope you found them interesting, these machinist tools in this latest pick. And until next time, if you like this video, please hit the like button. And if you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Take care.